One of the biggest surprises that my clients face when entering federal court isn't what happens in the courtroom, but it's what happens after they leave. Most defendants are placed on something called pretrial supervision, and it is much stricter than most people think. So if you are lucky enough to remain out of custody during the proceedings of your federal case, you are going to be on something called pretrial supervision, which basically means you're going to have a probation officer who is going to put all kinds of restrictions on you that the court has already imposed, and they may even impose more restrictions. They are going to restrict your movements, so you're not going to be able to just go on vacation or go visit people. You're going to usually be restricted to the district where your case is. If you need to travel, you need to get permission from them. If you need to travel internationally, you need an order from the court. I had a client recently who moved to Florida without permission from the court, and it was a nightmare. We had to beg the judge to give him permission to move retroactively. It was kind of a mess, but it worked out for him. They're going to limit your movements. In certain kinds of cases, they're going to monitor your computers or your phones. In certain circumstances, you're going to have to submit to drug testing or alcohol testing, even if you don't use drugs or alcohol, which is infuriating, but that can sometimes be the case. You may have to wear an electronic monitor, so you're going to have to check in with that. Sometimes the kind of monitor you're wearing requires them to call you all throughout the day and night, so you just have to be prepared to respond to them whenever they happen to call. If it's a financial case, you are going to have to provide them with all of your financial statements all the time. They're going to want all your bills. They're going to want every expense that you have. They're going to want to know every single thing about your finances. They are also going to come out to your home to make sure that it's suitable. They're going to make sure you don't have any firearms in the home. But there are all kinds of restrictions that you're going to be facing when you're on supervision before you've even gone to trial, or if in a case where you're going to plead guilty or been sentenced. It's not something that most people expect. So now you know. So pretrial supervision comes with real responsibilities, and violating any of the conditions of your supervision can have serious consequences, like you could go to jail, or you could be put into a residential drug treatment program. There are all kinds of things, all kinds of sanctions that the court can impose if you violate any of the conditions of your supervision. So you have to do everything your probation officer tells you to do. So if you have any questions about pretrial supervision, leave them in the comments and I will try to answer them in another video.